Today's conversation is with Melanie Emlyn. She's local here to Calgary, Alberta. Mel is a manual osteopath, nutrition practitioner, Reiki master, and 500-hour yoga teacher. She is so inspiring. In this chat, we go over our hormone journeys, women's hormones. We talk about extreme dieting, what we've tried and what has failed. We also talk about how us as women in the health and wellness space sometimes really suck at wellness. This conversation, it was so much fun. I think you're going to enjoy it just as much as I did. Let's dive in. There was like a little chipmunk on your front step, like the perfect little Alice in Wonderland. Little chippy. So we microdose today. We're gonna add that in here real quick. So things are kind of silly.
Yeah.
Just like, hi, welcome to the rainforest. And I was like, thanks.
Chocolate or vanilla ice cream. Dogs or cats.
We're gonna talk about health things. Elle and I both work in the health and wellness space, and it's nuts. Would you agree? It's nuts sometimes. I think you and I are both a little unhinged in the way that we just are who we are. We're like authentically human, and sometimes it's like rainbows and butterflies, and other times it's like, holy shit, like, why is everything so hard right now? And I'm gonna keep showing up for my clients, but like, I don't know how. Like, I'm ragging bits and pieces of my human to support and serve this human.
Isn't that like the problem with social media in general, is that everything is like a highlight, whereas I feel both of us have a priority to be like, life isn't always a highlight.
Yeah.
There's some hard stuff, and there's some like gnarly bits, and there's some dark, twisty, weird things in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the problem. You find yourself slipping into that where it's like, let me just show the good things.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, no. I told myself I'd be authentic. Why am I showing people my awesome week when I cried 3 times? Like, did that happen to you too?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think sometimes too, when you're a business, there is like a line of professionalism where there are certain things maybe that like you don't want to broach, or that you want to keep private, or, you know, things that other people have asked you to keep private, where you're like, okay, this is like affecting me greatly, and I can't really share that openly.
Yeah.
You know, so like there is always like a little bit of editing to an extent. To an extent.
That's an internal battle, because I think like I'm such a human. Like,
just a real one. I'm like a double human.
I'm a double, like, I'm not just a human. I'm
I'm 2 double humans.
But no, I have an internal battle with that sometimes, because I'm like, I find I connect best with people when I am being the most authentic version of myself. And then there's all these gurus who are like, don't share from the shadows, like, don't share when you're being a human. And so I'm like, but isn't that the point? Like, isn't that the whole point, to show people that I'm not perfect with how I eat all the time? And like, yeah, it's a Friday night and I'm sitting alone, and, you know, I ate more ice cream than I wanted to, but I did it. Like, that's my internal battle. And also I hear that business piece that's like, you know, how do you keep it professional?
To an extent, right? And I think everybody has to like figure out those boundaries for themselves. But I also think that the hardest part for us is that people do want to know more. They want to know everything. They want to understand like what the heck we're doing, like what's in my fridge, and like what do I consume on a regular basis to feel this way or act this way or like look this way. And you want to showcase that and share that, but then it also sometimes like lets people down when you're like, I also still have like a bag of chips, or like I also like didn't exercise this past week. Like I'm still like a normal being, because what I think happens is that people project, oh, I can't have like their life or their body or that type of health. And it separates them. And then they realize more and more like, oh no, they're just like me. Like we're the same. I'm not different. I'm not better.
Yeah.
Definitely. And as you like showcase those things, you like pull down the veil so that we are all one.
Yes.
We're all one.
We are all one. No one is better than everyone. This hierarchy that's been created. I love that. I love that you said that. And social media does create such a hierarchy that's like, if you're, meal prepping and working out 5 days a week and doing all these things, like you're the best.
Yeah. And you should look a certain way and you
Yeah.
should feel a certain way,
Mhm.
which, like, my God, with women's health, that is just not the case.
No.
There's so much complexity happening in here. There's so many things with hormones going on that is so different from like the feminine and the masculine species. Like
Mhm.
you can't just do things all the time.
You can't have a cut and paste program and expect to have the same result.
Yeah.
Which, like, even back to social media, I feel like my brain's gonna keep going there. Is like, that's what marketing strategy kind of teaches us, is to show them like, this is what you do in order to get X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But then once they step into, say, like a coaching container of mine or a program, it's like, actually, no, you need something very specific to you.
Yeah.
So that skews my mind too, because I'm like, how can I authentically tell people like, here's exactly what you need, but also we have no idea until you come and see me.
Yeah. There's like a little bit of fear. I find this with like every new client I get, specifically with nutrition.
Yeah.
Especially when I don't know them or where they're coming from. I'm like excited because I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a whole other journey. I've got to like figure this out. And then I have to try to like navigate the pieces that'll work best for them through the process of trial and error, because things are not going to work. And there isn't like a one pill fixes all when it comes to health. It's chaos.
Yeah.
And we're like organizing the chaos and then just like microdosing it to people, being like, okay, try this on.
Yeah.
Or like, I've used this has worked. See if this works for you. And then you're like, oh no, okay, let me just rejig that and we'll try like a different approach.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It is. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. And that's, I mean, part of why probably we do what we do, because we like love that.
It's never boring.
Like the differentiation that comes. I know I love that, but every single woman, I coach a lot of women right now who come to me, they all have a similar challenge, but it's like a different process in how we're going to help them overcome it and get there. So women's hormone health, that's an amazing topic conversation, and one that I feel like we can just like run circles around forever and ever and never really get anywhere either. Because it's like, how do you know? I would love to hear your experience.
Yeah.
Maybe personal, if you're open to sharing
of course
your hormones and kind of where you are right now. What's the journey to get to where you are now?
I think in turning 39 this year, literally next month, because I've been working with women for so long in this field, and I've heard the terms of perimenopause and menopause, and those are big buzzwords happening right now, which is great. How do I prepare myself? Like, what does me going into 40 look like? And those steps start at 30. And really, like, you should get like a snapshot earlier than that if you can. So in an ideal world, we would be taking a snapshot of our hormones when we're 20, and then when we're 30, and then into our 40s, into our 50s, into our 60s. So we can see what our baseline is and how to navigate that as we transition. That's like the basic stuff. Number one, something I would recommend for everyone. The best way to do that is doing the Dutch test. The Dutch test can be done by a naturopathic doctor or a functional medicine doctor. And it is like a 14-page document of your entire body based on urine samples.
I've never heard of this before.
It's really effective. It's you like sometimes will pee into these like little strips for your whole cycle if you have irregular cycles, or you'll just do it from days like 19 to 22. It gets shipped to the States. That's where the facility is, and sent back here. It's like $500, best money you've ever spent. And you find out everything, anything you're low in, anything you're high in, what your hormones are doing, what your cortisol is at, where your DHEA is, your thyroid, literally everything. So if we could do that 20, 30, 40, 50s, like 60s, once in those 10-year periods, I think would be great. For me, I found out that I was super low in testosterone. I did a Dutch test like 3 years ago now. Super low in testosterone and really high in estrogen. And so estrogen and progesterone, there are different sort of states of high low where you can start developing, for myself, for estrogen, fibrocystic breast tissue. High estrogen can cause like cysts and fibroids in your uterus, endometriosis, and uterine cancers, or like more female sex hormone cancers. So when we've got high estrogen and it's in our foods, it's in our water, it's in plastics, like it's everywhere in our body, so inundated, and it maybe doesn't have the opportunity to clear it. We're way more stressed out. We have higher cortisol, which like keeps it in the body. And so that's been like my focus, is like, how do I get back testosterone? How do I decrease my cortisol, and how do I decrease my estrogen?
And that's been your focus for the last 3 years.
For the last 3 years,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know, thank you for sharing like that. I'm sure when you found out about that, you were like, oh,
I'm failing.
Yeah. Like as a woman, like I'm doing everything. And that's too another struggle, I think, like in wellness, people expect, or we even expect of ourselves, like, I'm the wellness woman.
Yeah.
I work in this space.
Gotta have it all together.
I have it all together. I eat healthy and I drink 3 liters of water per day. Like everything should be operating just fine, you know?
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since then to increase testosterone and lower estrogen?
So biggest things were weight workouts. So shifting out of like, I love to go to bar and yoga and Pilates, and those things are great, but I needed a consistent weight routine to impact my muscles and increase testosterone. So that was a big shift for me, was doing that like at least 3 times a week at home. And then decreasing estrogen was like getting rid of the easy stuff. So like the face products that have like hormone disruptors in them, or my shampoos that have hormone disruptors, or makeup. Shifting out of any household products that we use, like cleaning products that might have hormone disruptors in them. Foods, of course, like any of the a lot of plastic foods, the soy emulsifiers, and soy itself, like tofu, and just kind of clearing that out for a while.
Did you do a full extreme, like get it out completely?
No. I've done too many extremes in my life. I've done way too many extremes. I think when I like first graduated from nutrition school in 2013, I would be what you would classify now as like an orthorexic. Like I was afraid of everything. Everything caused cancer. You know, my husband would come home and there'd be bags by the door of like, all of this stuff has to leave. It has to go. It's cancerous. It's going to kill us. It's got toxins. And I was like that for a really long time. And I think now I'm more of like the balanced, even though I hate that word, sort of like a graceful mindset when it comes to it. I don't want to go too extreme, but I just want to like make an effort that feels comfortable. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. I relate so much in the extremes. I still struggle with them. I'm not going to say I've like completely moved past them. But in nutrition specifically, I was under the impression that in order to be classified as a healthy person, you had to eat 100% whole foods. 100%. Like, why do chips even exist? Why does chocolate exist? Why? Like, I would look out at the world and be like, why? Who the heck? Fuck capitalism. Like, why? As I'm also a business owner at the same time. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. We should be eating vegetables and meat and potatoes, and that's it. And I did that for a long time. And I believe, like, in those extremes, that word balance, when we're swaying too far to one of them, usually comes crashing down on you, and you realize that it's not sustainable. Yeah. So now saying I'm more of that balance, but the approach I take is 80-20. So 80% whole foods, because we know they make us feel good. There's no reason why they shouldn't. We are nature. They come from nature. But there's also the joys of life, which unfortunately has processed stuff in the food label, and it just is what it is. And we might not feel amazing, but the experience with that food, sometimes pretty good. So
yeah, I always teach my clients, it's like you feed your body like 80%. Feed your body what it needs. Get that baseline, get the health, get all the proteins and the veggies. But then you've got to still feed your soul.
Yeah.
You can't forget about the little soul in you that's just like looking for that nourishment. It's that familiar food. Maybe it's something you like ate with your family when you were younger. And the more you say no, 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 the bigger that craving builds up until it takes you out and you're like 4 Lay's bag chips deep, just like, what happened?
Yeah, literally, it's the restriction that leads to the binge.
Yeah. And I think that's just like, it's not real life. We already have too many like limits on us. We already have too many expectations and restrictions. And if you do that on like the one thing that brings a lot of people joy, which is eating, they just go a little bit like squirrely, myself included. Like, I can't do that.
No.
Years ago when I got diagnosed with IBS and I was like, I'm not going to take the drugs. I need to figure this out. I went nuts. I was like raw vegan. I did candida cleanses, parasite cleanses. There was I was just taking every supplement under the sun. I was like, it was madness. It was sheer madness. I was doing coffee enemas.
You did that?
I was doing fasting.
I just heard of those.
Did you?
I watched that
apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
That was me. I was like that orthorexic. Like, I was those women. I was like terrified of getting cancer. I didn't even have it, but my mom had it. And I was like, I'm just going to do everything. I bought the Gerson therapy coffee from the States. And like literally every single Sunday I would fast all day and I would do a coffee enema in the morning.
For how long did you do this?
Oh gosh. This was probably like 2 years of my life. The coffee enemas were probably for like 6 months. They did make me feel better. I had inflammable bowel disease. So not eating is like beneficial in a sense, but was it really helping?
Was that the way?
No, it was just setting me up to be chaotic for the rest of the week with like high stress, overworked, no regulation, eating good food, but like not the right foods for my body for sure. Yeah. It was nuts.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I appreciate that share. I think we're the same in that. I never tried the coffee enema.
Now you just have to for fun.
I didn't even hear about them, but yeah, when I watched that show, I was like, what? Do I want it? No, I'm gonna stay away from that. Like, not interested in a potential other addictive thing.
Yeah, and there's definitely like a lot of risk to it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like medical safety that should be taken, and I was definitely not taking those precautions.
It's like over the head.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so nutrition. Love talking about nutrition. You also said you started strength training.
Mm-hmm.
Strength and nutrition, to me, they're like hand in hand. They're besties. We need both. What were you doing before strength training? Like for fitness?
Yeah, it was chaotic. There was no like rhyme or reason to it. It was yoga one day, it was bar the next day, it was Pilates, it was a spin class. I was always doing something. I loved group fitness and I still do. I find it wasn't giving me the results that I needed. And I actually wasn't building muscle. It's not how you build muscle. Mm-hmm. And I need muscle. So one of the things that happened to me when I was doing all of these testings was that I found out that I have osteopenia. So I'm already in the stage and I'm like on the line for stage 1 osteoporosis. So I already have thin bones. I haven't eaten dairy in like well over like 15 years. Not to say that you can't get calcium from so many other things, but I also wasn't, working out properly and I wasn't eating enough and I definitely wasn't eating enough protein. Mm-hmm. And so I had to make the shift. I had to start working out and it's made such a difference. Yeah. 3 times a week, 20 minutes. Like, you don't need more than that necessarily.
No. No, I think that's a big misconception is that like, if we're going to strength train, and a lot of people will get into it, like, I gotta go 5 days a week. Like, that's what you hear, like the 5-day split, upper, lower. Like, no, that is such a bro way of training. And again, like being woman, we cannot take a program that a man is doing and copy paste it and expect that we get the same results. We don't have the testosterone like men do. We do have testosterone, which is something that might be, you know, surprising to some women to hear. Like, yes, we do have that in our bodies, and there is a healthy level that we're meant to be at. And yeah, through strength training, 3 days a week, that's what I give to clients, 3 days minimum.
Yeah.
You don't need to do more than that either. Like, if you're going for 4, cool. Let's see what we're doing for like physical body goals, but it's not always necessary. And then plus is usually where we're getting into like athlete territory.
Yeah.
But if you're just a woman who's like, I'm just trying to be a healthy girl, that's perfect.
Yeah. And it's sustainable. And that's what I find is like, we enter it and we're like, I'm going to do 5 days a week because this is the girl on Instagram does 5 days a week, or, you know, like that's just what I've learned in the past. But can you actually do that and continue to do that? Like 5 days a week is hard. I haven't done my workout today. I don't know if I will.
Yeah.
There also needs to be time and space for like rest, which I think we're even worse at.
Yeah.
We're not taking enough rest, like 2 days rest a week. So many people that I know, especially us being in like the fitness industry, you know, we tend to find community and connection. So we're always doing classes, or we're always like being in the space of wellness, going for a walk with a friend, or we're working out ourselves at home or in studios, and we don't rest.
We don't.
There's no recovery. Or even the fact that like if you are working out, you in the span of like 6 to 8 weeks, like there should be a week off.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
You need that offloading time, which is minimum 1 week. 2 weeks would be great. But we hear that, and even us who are educated in it, we're like, no, why would I slow down? Why would I slow down? Because we get so used to this pace of life that's like actually really chaotic and like living in stress. And we get used to the cortisol.
Yeah.
Where we think like resting and slowing down, oh, in those 1 to 2 weeks, I'm going to lose all my results and I'm going to get fat, and like all of that negative internal dialogue kind of comes in.
Yeah.
So how do you prioritize rest as someone who's in this space?
I think it's like I'm always juggling it.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what the formula is. It's like something I'm constantly conscious of because I've had burnout so many times, because I have scoliosis and I've had so many injuries in my body from like playing high level sports for years, broken bones, dislocations, strains, sprains, you name it, I've had it. So I'm more susceptible. If I don't go and do like proper workouts and I push myself, like I could be laid out on the floor with back spasms for like 2 days. So my body will force me to rest if I don't listen. And that, unfortunately, that fear is like what keeps me conscious, what keeps me being like, okay, it's okay. You know, like, hey, I've got my period this week. Why don't I take 5 days off?
Yeah.
Even if I did that once every other period, like using that is even like a reminder, we should be resting on those days regardless. But that I kind of try to use that of like, okay, this is happening. We're getting to that time again. I'm just going to like scale back a little bit for the next couple of days. Yeah. Or just trying to watch myself not get into those extremes because I'm so comfortable in them. I'm comfortable in the working out constantly and like never stopping and always having something to do. So I have to like push myself to not. And today, that's all I did was push myself to not. I was like, you don't need to go for a walk. You don't need to work out today. Why don't you just read your book? Why can't you just like rest today?
It's hard.
It's so hard.
Because we're achievers, and
there's no reward in that. No one's like, good job, you read your book all day.
I know.
You instantly just hear like someone's voice being like, you're lazy and you did nothing today. And now you're going to fail the whole week and all the workouts are cascading down and you're not going to get anything done and la 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 la.
Literally. When like in the reality, I always like to say like zoom out. This one day, these 24 hours minus like the 8 to 9 that we're sleeping, or 8 to 10 sometimes. I slept so good last night. More sleep. But these 16 hours that we have in a day, if you really zoom out in the grand scheme of your life, one single day, and this is how I remind myself, because I am also an achiever who struggles with doing way too much. That is like 0.0000 whatever percent of my life. And life is day by day. It's moment by moment. And so for myself, when I do that, I'm like, okay, I don't feel so bad about taking this 0.0000 whatever percent off
Yeah.
from life, because rest lives on the opposite polar of work. Recovery and exercise, they live together. We need both of them. And if we're only ever giving the work, we're not actually working towards anything, because we're not counterbalancing it with what needs to exist, which is those days off.
Mm-hmm.
That's my mind conceptualizing all of it. But
and it's sustainable.
yeah,
that's like what I want to inspire anyone, is like, what does sustainable look like? Because there's extremes for sure, but it requires you to zoom out, to be like, what can I do for the rest of my life? Could I do 5 workouts a week, every week for the rest of my life? Or does that already sound exhausting? It's just not realistic. And then I'm failing. So like, what if I just said 3? And then if there's more, that's great. No problem. But like, it's about creating that sustainability, and you really have to be like, I'm not like, it's a blink. This is a blink right now. This is like a tiny little moment in time. So what can I continue to do for the rest of my life? Give up chips? No, it's not going to happen.
No. And the diets. Let's talk about that. Like, what kind of diets? I mean, you already told me some that you've tried, but what are ones that are still like existing and people are still trying? There's one that comes to mind for me. It's 75 hard.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I've never done that.
I have. I didn't succeed because, again, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. I think I got like 13 days into it. And then I was like, I hate myself because I failed. Like, what we do for health is not to make us hate ourselves. It is to make us love ourselves.
Yeah.
So looking at something, if it's going to cause you to get to the end of it, like as a failure that you tell yourself in your mind, or you don't come out of it feeling amazing as you should, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it?
Preach.
You know?
Why?
What other ones?
Fasting for me is a big one, and more on the side of like women or people who have female hormones. Fasting is just this thing that like came up and take people over, and they're just like, I'm just gonna fast. I'm not gonna eat breakfast and I'm not gonna eat lunch. And it became a little bit of this excuse, if I will, for people to not eat. And like, that is the point where for men, that might work really well for them. And they might lose a lot of weight, and they might become shredded and ripped and, rebalance their body state. That does not work that way for women. We cannot skip meals. And if we do that, our body goes into more of that like fight or flight or freeze response. We've got to store food and fuel. We gain more weight, then we become more unhappy. We're ripping our hair out. Like, I don't understand. I'm eating nothing. I'm gaining weight.
Yeah.
And it's so detrimental to our hormones. And it can take people years to come back from that. And that, to me, I'm always just like, like, what do you mean?
I am that those people. I used to fast.
Yes.
And it is exactly that. It's that story we tell ourselves as women in our mind that have been ingrained. It's been ingrained since we were like children. I feel like the generations are becoming better now. I hope. It seems like they are. But like we've been told from the beginning, like, you gotta be skinny in order to be worthy. And so we think, okay, these models who we're watching on whatever America's Next Top Model.
I love that show. Yeah,
it was great. And
but
they starved themselves. Themselves in order to get there. So we think we hear this one piece of information and we're like, okay, that's how you look like her. And we hear none of the other information in between of like, what else do they do? Maybe they actually do exercise. Like maybe there's so many other pieces that we have no idea, but all we hear is, I had a crumb for breakfast. So we're like, okay, well, I'm going to try that. And then it turns into this trend of fasting. And it can go 2 ways. It can go the way that you mentioned, where the body stores weight, which is like us being in that survival mode. And say you're a woman who you do have more weight on your body, or you're a regular weight, you might stay exactly the same.
Yep.
Where on the other extreme, you could already be super underweight and it causes you to become even thinner, even thinner, even thinner. And that was my circumstance where I would make sure it was like a goal I had, a very, very unhealthy relationship with food goal, where I was like, if I eat at 6 p.m., I'm not allowed to eat anything till minimum 6 a.m. because there's got to be 12 hours. I don't know why. I don't know where this 12-hour came from. It was like minimum 6 a.m. And you know what? That's pretty early to eat. So I'll probably push it because like I wake up at 5, so I'm going to get a workout in. So there's these 12 hours where I'm asleep. 6 p.m. onward, who knows what I was doing. Then I'm asleep. Then I wake up and I put out more energy. I have no fuel inside of me.
Yeah.
And then it's like maybe 10 a.m. by the time I ate breakfast and I was hungry. So
Yeah.
it was like a win.
And how did your body feel? Like, what other symptoms were you experiencing being so malnourished?
So that was ongoing for me for a couple of years. I ended up losing my period for 4 years. Like it wasn't just during that process. I lost it for 4 years. I just gained it back like within the last 8 to 12-ish months. I was super thin. I had like sunken in eyes. I luckily didn't lose hair, but I've always had a lot of hair, so I don't know if that'll ever be an issue for me. But I know that women can start to lose hair. But our hormones, that's the biggest thing, is like no period, no libido, no sex drive at all. I'm just like not attracted to anyone. I'm sure no one was attracted to me because of law of attraction. But I still had that story in my mind that was like, not enough, not enough. You could get thinner, you could look better. And it was all because of the external. I had no care in the world about what was going on internally, which sadly, a lot of women and humans, they look at health that way. It's how can I make myself look in a certain amount, certain way on the outside, and they'll do anything to get there.
And we're fighting a massive corporate machine that is the beauty industry that is filling those gaps, because you're right, we don't know. We look at someone and we don't know what their genes are. Like literally this could just be like how they were born based on their parents. You can't achieve that. It's not attainable. You can't change your genes. There's so much stuff going on about microbiome that we don't understand, where they're seeing like fecal matter transplants. So literally poop taken from one person put into the colon of the other, and this person who's never experienced weight gain in their life gains weight and can't get rid of it because of the transplant, because of the literal bacteria that lived in someone else's body. Like, again, how do you fight that? Like, you can't. And so the beauty industry fills the gaps, and it's like, well, eat 6 almonds.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're going to faint, just eat 6 almonds and then keep going. And you're like, work out more, eat less. And then we're uneducated, we're unhappy, and we're unhealthy. Yeah. And it's like, that's a hard place to be in.
Yeah.
How did you change?
What
What even like shifted for you? How did you even get yourself out of that?
It wasn't until, and I love this topic, I'm glad you asked that. It wasn't until I stopped isolating, and that's like a total other topic of just like how the world isolated so many of us because of something that happened 5 years ago, pandemic. But I was very isolated. So my problems, they were only seen by me, and I wasn't hurting anyone with them, or I didn't think I was. And when I finally had that thing click in my mind, I don't know what clicked. It was like, I need to get into community again. Like, done with this isolation, the world's open, let me get more into community. Then I started connecting and deepening some relationships, and I'm a very vulnerable, authentic person. Like, we started this. I shared with them, yeah, I don't get a period, whatever. Because to me, it was whatever. It's actually kind of nice. Like, no cramps. Pretty cool. And then my friends, as we developed our relationship, they were like, you still haven't gotten one? And they were concerned. And it was less than about me and more about them. And my family were like, wait, you're not? Like, still? Like, how long has it been? And I was like, oh, shit.
Is this
like,
bad?
This is actually a problem. And, like, people actually care, too, which felt nice. And through that, I was like, yeah, actually, this is affecting more than just me because now, my mom's waking up every day and she's like, Kelsey, you haven't gotten a period still? Like, what's going on? And we started looking into it and realized that, yeah, there is a lot of detriment to not having a period. It's like, it's not just a fun, woo, I don't get cramps anymore situation. And so that's what made the shift for me. It was a hard one to actually pursue though, like to be completely honest, because I my whole life have struggled with body image, and that was the first time when I was at my thinnest, no period, but at my thinnest, that I was like finally happy when I looked in the mirror. And so when it was now time to reverse a lot of that and put weight on, that was the hardest thing. I was like, I don't want to do this. Why do I need a period? And I fought it. I fought it for a while.
It's scary.
It's really scary.
So scary. Like actually putting weight on after you haven't had weight is from so many people, myself included. The resistance to it is it's so mental. You can feel like your body is like, no, this is a good thing, but your mind is like, I'll go back, I don't care, I'll do whatever it was, I just don't want to look that way. It's so ego focused, it's so external. It's like the fear that comes with those beliefs. I won't be loved, I won't be worthy, I won't be, fill in the blank, right? And you have to go through that. You have to fight against it when like your whole mind is believing that if you do this, like your world is going to end.
Totally.
How do you fight that? Like, how do you say like, no?
Well, beliefs are like one of my favorite topics too, because I do. Have you heard of neuro-linguistic programming? Probably. That's a lot of what I do with clients is we start in the mind. Like, what is that story that you're telling yourself that's keeping you in restriction or keeping you in binge, like specifically around nutrition, or keeping you from going to the gym, telling yourself, I don't like working out. Okay, how long have you been telling yourself that? And so for me, you'd think the external world would think, oh, she's a mindset girl. She knows how to change her mindset like this. And I wish.
Work.
It still takes work. And it's also really cool because you can change any belief. So even though that belief for me, it was super deeply ingrained that, exercising 6 days a week and fasting for over 12 hours, it was the way. I now look at that past version of me and I'm like, wow, her beliefs, they were so deep. And now my beliefs are so deep and they're so healthy. And they're like, she wakes up and she has water and she eats after 30 minutes and she doesn't exercise and she doesn't have energy. Like it's shifted so much because it shifted in here.
Yeah.
Which is, the power of belief.
And that's the hardest part of the job.
It is.
That's the hardest part about nutrition. And I don't know if you found this, but like when I first started working with clients, which was again so long ago, like 2013, I don't know, like my mind was boggled. I was like, just do this. Here, like I just didn't understand because I couldn't get at the mental part. I couldn't get at the mindset part. I was like, why can't you just make these changes? Like, do you want the changes? And everything you're doing, I've like stated what is wrong and what is right, and you still like can't change. And it's like, it's not enough to want to change. You have to know the why. You have to know the why you're doing what you're doing right now, and then figure out how to rewire the why of what you want to mean something more than like, I just want to look good in a bikini, because it's not enough.
It's so much deeper than that. It's the emotional why. And I paid that, like, before I was coaching. I used to work in sales, which it helped because in sales, they teach us, like, you got to find the emotion. Like, what is the emotional reason this person is going to buy X product? But it works the same with mindset. Is we're not going to change anything in our mindset if we don't actually know why, and we don't have an emotional tie to why. Externally, there might be a bit of an emotional piece that's like, yeah, I want to look good in the bikini. Okay, why? Well, for my husband, because like he doesn't look at me with glimmering eyes anymore, and I want him to look at me like that. And that's the emotional why. It's like, it's so much more than just your bikini. It's you want to feel sexy with your partner when you're on a beach in Mexico so you can take pictures together and have that memory for the rest of your life. That is your why. It is not just the bikini. Fuck the bikini. You just want to feel sexy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you got to get to that deeper
why.
that deeper place. Yeah.
How do you get deep with people?
I think it's just the questions. I think it's being curious. And I think people are usually open to it when they're starting with like a new practitioner. And not to say that I share everything, but I definitely share like where I've come from and what I've experienced. And I think that's helpful because I've experienced a lot and I've done so many things where I'm like, oh, I've tried that diet, or like, oh, I've done that, and this is what happened to me. And I think that's helpful for people to be like, oh, again, what we were talking to right before we even started recording was like, I'm not different. I'm not special. I'm the same. I'm walking beside you. Like, we are going through this journey right now together. And I've just done a lot of it that I get to share. And I have education that helps me sort that out. And I think that's somewhat helpful for people, to like get the ball rolling and get them to start to inquire.
Open up a little bit.
Yeah. It's pretty great. It's pretty great when you get to see that, and you get to see like the change in clients, and you get them to like start seeking out. I had a client recently who, has like done many things in his life, diet wise, and really struggled with weight. And he realized in us working together that he's now going to AA, like for food addictions, and he's going to be a part of it. And he's going to be mentoring people. And I was like, wow, that is so awesome. Like, you're going to be changing people's lives now because of what you've gone through. Like, that's so cool.
That's what I love so much about health journeys is everything is always deeper than what it seems. It's so much more than, I've changed my body and I've changed how I feel. It's also like the energy that you show up with in the world too. And I have a couple of clients I'm thinking of who like stepped into that power now. That's like, I feel empowered and I want to help people. I have one who she started a business and she does events to bring women together in spiritual circles to just like fully open their hearts up and share what they're going through and grow from each other. And it's just crazy. And like, we were on a health journey, like we were working out and doing nutrition, and look at what you're doing now.
So cool.
It's so empowering.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's the little golden lights that like keep us doing what we're doing. And I always tell myself, like, any shit that hits the fan in my life is always just an opportunity for me to like learn something new that I get to share with some people. And again, like, it's like an injury sometimes with clinicians where you'll see a theme that starts to happen. Like, oh, I just had a knee thing happen a year and a half ago. And now what do I see come across? Always this knee stuff. Because you're like, well, I just went through it. So like, let's see if you're on the same plane and I can really help you because I've been through it. Which is like an unfortunate part. I don't really want to get like injured anymore or like have to experience these big things. But also, if I'm going to make use of it at least.
Yeah.
Okay, universe, like, you don't have to send me anymore. Like, I'm good.
Don't send us any more things, but also like we do have the tools.
Thanks. Just like take a little break. Take a little break.
Oh. Okay, we're gonna wrap up with 3 rapid fire questions because that's what people do on podcasts. Yeah. You can answer in 1 word or 1 sentence or less.
Okay.
And if you continue talking, I'll just let you because it's fine.
Just stop.
Favorite food?
Oh my God. Pizza was the first thing that came to mind.
Okay.
But I can't have dairy or gluten. So like inner child pizza, chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Made with like corn flour.
Yeah, like a gluten-free.
Yeah.
Like chicken nuggets with like plum sauce.
Yum.
For sure.
Okay. Favorite way to get movement?
I mean, yoga.
Is it yoga?
Yeah.
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 Even though you strength train?
Even though I strength train.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still love it. It's very different. There's like an embodiment to it. There's a flow to it. There's like a feminine energy to it. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Favorite type of client that you like to work with?
I love to work with women who are curious about health, and probably in their ranges from like 25 to 50.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Final question. I said there was 3 rapid fire, but
She's got another one.
If there's anything else that you feel called to share and you would feel bad if you didn't get to tell the world this, what is it?
Oh my gosh. Be kind to yourself. This life is so hard and this process is so hard. And where we're thinking about wellness, it is beyond difficult and sometimes feels impossible. So just be kind through the process. And I think what you said, take a step back. Right now might feel really hard. Be kind to yourself as you move along the journey because you will find answers. And you only get one life and there's only one you. So be nice.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind. I totally agree with that, and I really loved this conversation.
Yeah.
This was so nice. It flowed so good. You're very knowledgeable, and if anyone needs to find you,
oh yeah, you can find me at my website, melanieemlyn.com, or Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, which is at Mel Emlyn. And yeah, stay connected.
okay. Lots of love. Peace.
Oh my God.